ISO 1465-2020 Documentation and Consultancy for bodies validating and verifying greenhouse gas. Hello everyone, welcome to this professional session on ISO 14065-2020 Documentation and Consultancy for validation and verification bodies involved in greenhouse gas assessment. This presentation is provided by URGS International Certification and Inspection Private Limited. Today we will discuss the ISO 14065-2020 standard, its requirements, documentation, structure, validation and verification processes, and consultancy support for organizations working in greenhouse gas validation and verification. Now, ISO 14065-2020 is an international standard that specifies requirements for bodies that validate and verify environmental information, particularly greenhouse gas emissions and removals. The standard ensures that organizations performing GHG validation and verification activities operate in a competent, consistent, impartial, and transparent manner. ISO 14065 is widely used by organizations involved in carbon verification, emission reporting, climate programs, sustainability verification, environmental reporting systems. This standard plays an important role in ensuring credibility and trust in greenhouse gas reporting systems worldwide. Now, importance of greenhouse validation and verification. Greenhouse gas emissions are a major concern globally due to their impact on climate change and environmental sustainability. Organizations and governments are implementing systems to measure, report, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. However, the reliability of reported data is critical. This is where validation and verification bodies play a vital role. These bodies assess whether greenhouse gas information is accurate, complete, consistent, transparent, in compliance with applicable standards. ISO 14065 ensures that such bodies operate with professional competence and integrity. Scope of ISO 14065. ISO 14065 applies to validation and verification bodies that assess greenhouse gas statements. These bodies may verify organizational GHG inventories, carbon footprint reports, emission reduction projects, climate mitigation programs, environmental sustainability reports. The standard ensures that the validation and verification process is conducted in a reliable and internationally accepted manner. Now, key principles of ISO 14065. ISO 14065 is based on several important principles that ensure credibility and transparency. Impartiality. Validation and verification bodies must ensure that their activities are free from conflicts of interest. The organization must identify and manage risks related to impartiality. Competence. Personnel performing validation and verification activities must have appropriate qualifications, training, and experience in greenhouse gas assessment. Confidentiality. Information obtained during validation or verification activities must be protected and handled confidentially. Transparency. The validation and verification processes must be clearly defined and transparent to stakeholders. Documentation requirements of ISO 14065. One of the most important aspects of implementing ISO 14065 is developing proper documentation. The validation and verification body must establish and maintain documented procedures, policies, and records. Typical documentation includes ISO 14065 manual, quality policy and environmental policy, procedures and work instructions, validation and verification procedures, competence management procedures, risk management procedures, impartiality policy, document control procedures, record control procedures, internal audit procedures, management review procedures, complaints and appeals procedures, checklists and evaluation forms, Proper documentation ensures that validation and verification activities are systematic, consistent, and compliant with ISO requirements. ISO 14065 Manual. The ISO 14065 Manual is the main document describing the management system of the validation and verification body. The manual explains how the organization complies with ISO 14065 requirements. The manual typically includes organization overview, scope of validation and verification activities, policies and objectives, organizational structure, roles and responsibilities, description of validation and verification processes. Management system procedures. This manual acts as the foundation of the organization's management system. Organizational structure requirements. ISO 14065 requires a clear and transparent organizational structure. The validation and verification body must define management responsibilities, technical personnel roles, independent review functions, decision-making authority. The organization must ensure that personnel involved in verification activities are competent and impartial. Personnel competence requirements. Competence is a key requirement in ISO 14065. Personnel involved in validation and verification must demonstrate competence in greenhouse gas accounting principles, environmental management systems, verification methodologies, risk assessment techniques, relevant environmental regulations. Competence must be evaluated through education and qualification, professional experience, training programs, periodic competence evaluations. Validation and verification process. The validation and verification process generally includes several stages. First is application review. The organization receives a request for validation or verification and evaluates the scope of work. Contract review. The verification body reviews the project details and ensures that it has the necessary competence and resources. Planning the assessment. The validation or verification team develops a plan that defines the methodology, scope, and timeline. Risk assessment. Risks related to incorrect GHG statements are identified and evaluated. Validation or verification activities. The verification team evaluates the data, documentation, and calculations related to greenhouse gas emissions. Independent review. An independent technical review is conducted to ensure the accuracy of findings. Decisions and reporting. The final validation or verification statement is issued. Then next is risk management in ISO 14065. Risk management is a critical component of ISO 14065. Validation and verification bodies must identify risks related to incorrect greenhouse gas data, conflict of interest, competence limitations, operational errors. Proper risk assessment ensures that the verification process remains reliable and credible. Internal audit requirements. ISO 14065 requires organizations to conduct internal audits periodically. Internal audits help ensure that the management system is functioning effectively. Internal audits evaluate compliance with ISO 14065 requirements, effectiveness of procedures, documentation accuracy, personnel competence. Audit findings must be recorded and corrective actions must be implemented where necessary. Now management review. So here top management must regularly review the management system. Management review meetings assess internal audit results, client feedback, operational performance, improvement opportunities. Management review ensures the continuous improvement of the verification body. Checklist and evaluation tool. Checklists are useful tools to ensure compliance with ISO 14065. Examples include validation planning checklist, verification assessment checklist, technical review checklist, competence evaluation checklist, internal audit checklist. These tools help ensure consistency and quality in verification activities. Now, benefit of ISO 14065 implementation. Organization implementing ISO 14065 gain several advantages. These include international credibility, reliable greenhouse gas verification, increased stakeholder confidence, compliance with environmental regulations, improved operational efficiency. ISO 14065 strengthens the integrity of environmental reporting systems. Now, consultancy support by URGS International. How URGS support for documentation and consultancy. URGS International provides professional consultancy services for ISO 14065 implementation and documentation. Our services include ISO 14065 manual preparation, policy and procedure development, validation and verification process documentation, competence framework development, internal audit support, accreditation preparation. Our consultants help organizations develop fully compliant documentation system aligned with ISO 14065 requirements. Why choose URGS International? URGS International provides experienced ISO consultants, complete documentation packages, practical implementation support, compliance with international standards, professional training and guidance. We help organizations successfully establish GHG validation and verification systems. Now, our contact information. So, for ISO 14065 documentation and consultancy services, please contact URGS International Certification and Inspection Private Limited. Our email ID is info@urgsiso.com. Mobile number is +917359458455. Our team will assist you in developing complete ISO 14065 compliant documentation and validation systems. At last, ISO 14065 2020 provides an internationally recognized framework for organizations performing greenhouse gas validation and verification activities. By implementing proper documentation, procedures, and competence management systems, validation and verification bodies can ensure credibility, transparency, and reliability in greenhouse gas reporting. With professional consultancy and structured documentation support, organizations can successfully implement ISO 14065 and contribute to global climate accountability and environmental sustainability. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe our channel for similar contents. Thank you.